Thank you once again for joining us on this broadcast. As I mentioned this morning, we're not only celebrating single moms, but also understanding the reality that they face on a daily. And speaking of which, that question of the day to you this morning is, are you a single mom? What are some of the joys and pains you have experienced on this journey? Are you a single mama? What are some of the joys and pains you have experienced on this journey? Talk to us. That hashtag is New Normal. And as always, remember, you can pick up your phone and call us using those numbers at the bottom of your screen. But before we get to that interesting and pertinent conversation, let's take a look at the impact of COVID-19 around the world. And this morning, those numbers stand at 187,632,756 confirmed cases globally. Out of that number, 171,584,218 have recovered and 4,049,071 have succumbed to COVID-19. In Kenya, well, those numbers keep rising, and this morning they stand at 188,754 confirmed cases within the boundaries of Kenya. Out of that number, 179,520 have recovered, and unfortunately, we have lost 3,722 people within the confines of Kenya to COVID-19. Now a look at some of the stories making headlines this morning on the streets of a Tunisian touristic landmark of Sidi Bou said lie almost empty after authorities impose a total lockdown on 6 regions as the number of COVID cases spirals in the North African country. Walid Ayari, a waiter in one of the hotels, says it is already July 10th and there are 0 customers at the cafe. This is the first time this has ever happened. As soon as you arrive at Sidi Bou, Said, and see the city, you can hardly believe it. There is hardly anyone. Now, Ramzi Guizani, a vendor, adds in the middle of July, a lockdown is imposed, especially on a Saturday when people want to go out and shopkeepers are waiting for visitors to earn a living. Why? Whole families are waiting to be fed. This crisis has really taken off. And still on the impact of COVID-19, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa says the vaccinations will continue to increase pace in a televised address to the nation as the country battles a 3rd wave of the virus. COVID-19 restrictions imposed in the country to limit the effects of the Delta variant will also stay in place until the end of the month.
For the last 2 weeks, the country has consistently recorded an average of nearly 20,000 daily new cases. At present, the country has over 200,000 active COVID cases. In the last 2 weeks, over 4,200 South Africans have lost their lives to COVID-19. To date, over 4.2 million people in our country have received a vaccine dose, with 1 million of these having been done over the past 7 weekdays. The pace of vaccination has more than doubled in the last month and will continue to increase pace.
Elsewhere, attacks have escalated in northern Mozambique over the past year, claiming more than 2,900 lives and displacing around 800,000 people. The internally displaced people could face a hunger emergency unless funding is secured, according to the UN World Food Programme. Now, Rwanda has said it will send 1,000 troops to Mozambique to help the country battle extremist militants wreaking havoc in the north of the gas-rich nation. Now, insurgents have been wreaking havoc in Cabo Delgado since 2017, with attacks escalating over the last year. The gas-rich region has been ravaged since militants linked to the Islamic State group launched an unprecedented raid in March, killing dozens and forcing tens of thousands to flee. And speaking about support, here are more details on how and why Rwanda is offering Mozambique militant support.
The purpose of this mission, first of all, is based on a request by the government of Mozambique to the government of Rwanda to help support in conducting military operations, including security operations and stabilization, as well as security sector reform. The operation is not time specific, it's mission specific. So we will complete our job first and then determine when to leave. We are participating with the Mozambican forces to restore order and sanity in Cabo Delgado.
Now to something that kept most of us awake in the night, that is last night. Victory in the final of Euro 2020 is an infinite joy, says Italians celebrating on Piazza Venezia in Rome. After failing to qualify for the 2018 World Cup, Italy redeemed themselves in a shootout against England to win the trophy. Italians spilled into the streets from Milan to Palermo to celebrate their national side's Euro 2020 triumph over England on Sunday, pushing aside thoughts of the pandemic which has gripped the nation. In the heart of a capital, Rome, a concert of car horns and fog horns rang out amid a cloud of smoke from firecrackers after Italy lifted their second European title and first since 1968. Roberto Mancini's men recovered from the shock of conceding the quickest goal ever in a European Championship final to equalize and claim a 3-2 shootout victory. Well, something that will keep a lot of people still talking about it this morning, and a few groggy people walking into the office even after staying up to see who would take that cup, and hey, Italy took the day. Well, let's now shift gears to the conversation of the day, and today, as I said, we're taking time to celebrate single moms and of course understand their journey, because it's one that is not for the weak-hearted, and you'll be hearing some of these stories coming out of this conversation this morning. And speaking of which, to help us along with this conversation, we have Alice Njambi. She is the conscious coach, is what she calls herself. She'll tell us why she calls herself such, but she's also a single mom, and she'll also be talking about her experience. We are also joined in the other studio by Annette Agutu, who is an author and also a single mom. Joining us virtually is Sally Wamboi, who is a HR professional but also a single mom, and Michelle Masiga, a customer service professional, also a single mom. Ladies, thank you for joining me on this conversation. Alice, let's first start off. What is a conscious coach?
A conscious coach is exactly that. Just taking the meaning of conscious, to be awake, to be aware. So what a conscious coach does is she or he helps you bring an environment of awareness into what is going on. It could be a situation, an event, or probably where you're at in life. Yeah.
So in this case, we're talking about being in the space of a single mom. And now, as I mentioned, you're also a single mom.
Yeah.
When you think about having this conversation, why is it critical that we actually keep having this kind of discourse?
I think it's very critical because according to, in my own opinion, there's so much of this that is going on, and most of us don't know how to handle it. Most of us don't know, we are here, we don't know how to go about it, and we are just drowning, and yeah, we need to have this conversation.
All right, and as we're talking about the journey of a single mom, I mean, it starts from somewhere.
Yeah.
Where did yours start?
Mine started back in 2017, early 2017, after my husband and I separated, and yeah, I got a divorce, and it was quite a shock because that was not my plan when I was getting into the marriage, but there I was. Yeah.
How many kids?
I have 2 kids. Michelle is 14 and Jessie is 9.
So how old were they then?
5 years back, Michelle was 9 and Jessie was 5. 4.
Okay, so at this point when everything is quote unquote falling apart, what are you going through considering you have kids to think about and a marriage that you'd seen a future with?
It was quite crazy because, like I mentioned earlier, I never saw myself heading there, and yet I was there. I was breaking apart internally. I had no clue what the future would have in store for me. I was very scared. I was hurt. There's so many feelings that one goes through, many negative emotions as you're going through that process. And it's very hard to either forget yourself or you're trying to keep it all, you know, have it all together. Yet the kids are also looking up to you. There's society looking up, also wondering what is going on. And it was quite a journey, let me just say that.
And we'll delve further into it even as we understand that or those of the other panelists. Let me start off with you, Annette. Where did your journey begin?
My journey as a single mom began in 2016. Yeah, so I was dating. I was in a relationship by then. And then all of a sudden, actually it was in 2015, that's when I got pregnant. And all of a sudden, things happened and the man was like, he's not ready to be a father. So I was there, left alone. I had to do this. I had no choice. Like, it has already happened. Though it's something we both wanted. We both wanted to have the baby. But all of a sudden, he changed his mind. I really don't know what happened in between there. I'm still trying to figure out.
Okay, how long had you dated for?
Okay, we had dated for a year. Yes.
And in this year, both of you were confident enough you wanted to have a baby.
Exactly. And at some point, we were trying and it failed. So he was disappointed, actually. He was like, oh, okay, so it didn't happen. I was like, you know what? It's God who gives. So let's try again. It will happen again next time. So it happened. I got pregnant. Then, yeah.
Okay. And how old were you again?
Sorry?
How old were you?
I was 25 years by then. Yes.
All right. At this point, were you married or just dating?
No, we were just dating. Yes.
So when it happened and you say you're still trying to figure out what exactly led him to walk away, how did you handle the situation?
Okay, for me, I was devastated. Actually, I was devastated, and I saw the whole world crumbling down on me, and I was like, this is just the end of me. I mean, I had no future because I didn't have a job at that time, and so I was there bringing a child to this world. I don't have any source of income. The father has decided to go waywards, and he doesn't want to be part of this. It kind of broke me down, honestly. I remember crying every single day. And at first I didn't have the energy or the courage to walk through that journey, and I didn't even know I will make it. Yeah.
Okay, and we'll delve deeper into their journey in a moment. Let's hear from Michelle. Michelle, your story is sort of similar to that of Annette's. How did you end up being a single mom? Okay, I think we have lost Michelle for now. We'll join her in a moment. Sally, what is your story?
Wow. My story, I ended up being a single mom because my husband passed away last year in June. And that is how I ended up with starting to walk the journey of singlehood. And I was left with a son who's turning 15 this year. And I can tell you it was a very scary road to take. And I cannot really speak about my journey without really speaking about what I've held on to, which has been really my faith. Of course, it's an area where you get married. I was married for 15 years, and suddenly my husband was gone. He passed on because of COVID. He was diagnosed with COVID at the beginning of June, and within another 20 or so days, he was, gone. It hardly prepared us for anything. So that is how I found myself a single mom.
Oh, wow. And our condolences to you. And you say you were left with a 14-year-old son, now 15. Who was walking with you? How did you cope or have to now take the next steps on your own?
Wow. I have a very supportive family, and so they stepped in. When it comes to I think just working with a boy especially, my two brothers really stepped in, and our very close family friends who we had worked with for quite a while. But my greatest support system has been ladies that we pray with, because I'm a great woman of faith. I hold on to my faith so strongly. And really, I surrounded myself with ladies who offered very authentic friendship. And so not just friendship, but they also offered a lot of emotional support. And that really is what has kept me going. And above all things, for me, my greatest pillar has literally been God. That has been my greatest pillar to navigate this new terrain. I pray a lot, and the word of God has really grounded me in this journey.
Okay, we hear you, and you'll tell us more about that journey in a moment. I hear Michelle is back with us. Michelle, how did you get into the journey of single motherhood?
Okay, first of all, good morning, everyone. And for me, it was unexpected, like totally unexpected. I was in a relationship, and after feeling some kind of way, and it was at a time when that relationship was not working. So when we found that we were pregnant, there was a lot of tension, a lot of doubt, and so the guy wasn't really, he was in shock. I was also in shock. But, when things deal with them.
Okay, so at this point, how old were you? Okay, we seem to be having an issue with Michelle's connection, but she'll be joining us in a moment. Now, Alice, when I listen to all these stories, there is that permanent fixture of change, and it comes abruptly, and you've got all these pieces that you've got to start picking up. How do you handle that? How did you handle yours?
For starters, mine was, it was not easy at first. And partly the reason why I'm so passionate about talking about just being conscious is because when I look back, I can say I saw it coming. I cannot say mine was unexpected, because I remember around January, because I like journaling a lot, and around January I remember I wrote, hey, the way things are going, I don't think we are gonna finish the year together. So I could see it coming. But the thing is, we see it coming, but there's nothing, like, we feel helpless. We are not really conscious. It's like you're walking into a hole, but you're just walking. And I did that. I could see this is headed south, but I felt helpless. And when it did, I was broken. And just like Sally, I thank God because I really had a supportive family. But most of the work had to be internally for myself, because I had gotten to the point where, like you're saying, change is difficult, you know? You're so used to having life this way, you're so used to this, then all of a sudden it's like the carpet is just dragged off your feet. So where do you start? And for probably someone who's at that point, I would encourage just make peace with it, because most of the time we're usually resisting, no, or we are trying to put on a social mask and cover up, and because we don't want to accept. And acceptance of changes, I usually say, when you accept then it's like 50% of making the step forward. Because most of the time what you don't accept, actually just you resist it, and it keeps on coming back, it keeps on coming back. So accept, make peace with it. This is where I'm at. Process the emotions, because most of the time we tend to hide. I'm not feeling pain, niko tu sawa. In fact, the issue was them, it wasn't me, you know. It happens a lot. And for me, that is, I got to that point where I started asking myself, because initially what would happen is I'd meet people and then they'd ask me, and because there was so much pain in my heart, I would tell them, hey, you guys sit, alifanya, kafanya. But what would happen is I'd go home, then I'd still feel bad, you know? I'd still feel, despite talking, so there's still so much hurt in me. So I started asking myself, okay, so I am here, which is part of making peace with it. I'm here, I didn't sign up for this, I didn't want this, but I'm here, and I'm hurting. I am here, and I'm feeling ashamed. I'm here, and I'm frustrated. I'm here, and I'm angry, you know? And just processing, and just looking at myself. Okay, so for me, in my particular situation, I started looking at it like, okay, yeah, I'm here, but I also wasn't an angel, you know? It takes two to make a marriage. It also takes two to break a marriage. So I started asking myself, so what role did I play in this whole marriage? Because, I mean, that guy was not in this by himself.
Yeah.
So how did I show up? You know, is there something that I could have done better? And just looking at it, not in terms of remorse or regret, but just assessing the situation so that I know what is it that, how did I play? What role did I play in it? Which was a lot of self-awareness, something that I love talking about, because most of the time the way we show up and the way people see us is very
totally different.
Exactly.
Okay, and we'll talk more about that. Now, even as we talk about acceptance, it comes with change, as I mentioned. Annette, how much did your life change, and how long did it take for you to accept your new status?
Actually, like there's this saying that goes, when a child is born, a mother is also born. Like my entire life changed. And first of all, I remember at some point I had withdrawn myself from those around me, my friends, and most people didn't even know what's going on in my life. Like you see, when you're pregnant, people expect you to have a man, like maybe a husband or a boyfriend, something like that. But as for me, I didn't have that person in my life. So I kind of tried to hide. So whenever friends would ask me, how is he doing? He's doing fine. Like I just wanted to cover it up because I knew people would judge me. They will ridicule me, they will talk about me, and I just didn't want to be the talk of town. So it kind of took me 3 years to finally accept that this man has left me, has left us, and now it's me and my daughter. And the 3 years were really, really hard for me. I actually found solace in writing, and God was my, like, he was really there for me. Like, most of the time, I just found myself kneeling down, crying, praying, and sometimes you're just kneeling and you're not doing anything, you're just crying. And yeah, so that's what worked for me, the writing and just talking to God. Yeah.
And you talk about how you were afraid that people would look at you different, you know, ridicule you, wonder what happened, how could you be pregnant and alone? What are the feelings you were struggling with yourself? What are the things you were telling yourself about the situation you were in?
Okay, at first I felt guilty, and I felt like I had let my family down. I also felt like I've let myself down. Like, how did I get myself into this? As much as I wanted to be a mother, as much as I wanted to have someone little to hold, I also felt guilty, and I felt like maybe this is not the right thing for me to do, or maybe it was too early for me, or maybe I thought this person, whatever I thought about this man was really different. Like, he's not the same person I thought he was. Because at first I knew he was that loving person, and maybe once we bring the baby into this world, things will be better, things will be okay, like he'll be there for this child. But it turned out to be the opposite. So I was kind of, I don't know, like I kind of told myself I rushed into things, or maybe I rushed into having a baby in the first place.
Okay. Yeah. So you also got to a point where you now started figuring out what it is that you could have done.
Exactly.
Or how or what role you played. Okay. Yeah. Now, Sally, for you, definitely the circumstances are different. Married 15 years and COVID comes and snatches your husband of this 15 years. Yes, you're going through loss, but what else are you going through?
I struggled with the thought of, oh my God, I am now a widow. And what I really initially struggled with was, I'm such a young widow at 39, and it found me having conversations with God, especially like, and you know, with COVID, you were to bury within 72 hours. So you can imagine, first of all, even the craziness of accepting the situation of a husband is suddenly gone, and you have to bury within 72 hours. It felt like we were really being, like life was just harassing us. And for me, the struggle was, how can I be a widow at 39? And I remember asking God that question, are you for real? Like, was this part of my portion? Was this part of my journey? And I really struggled with that a lot. Secondly, what I also really struggled with was, how do I bring up this boy who, first of all, is a teenager? And just maybe to mention to you is that our son, 2 years before that, had suffered a very life-threatening situation. He got into a fire accident that left him in ICU for like 12 days. And we were in hospital for more than actually a month. And we are still walking the journey of him being reconstructed, because he had burns on his right side of the face, his ear collapsed, the right side of his chest and back, he burned. And it has taken a lot of physiotherapy, counseling, and now all of a sudden, even before he heals, and we are still walking the journey of surgeries and all that comes with reconstruction, his father is. I think for me that was scary. I struggled with the fact that, how am I going to do this? And I think just the greatest fear was, how do I step into the shoes of my husband, who was really a very, a man who was full of life, was very hardworking. And I kept wondering, how do I do this? It was really, really, really unforeseen. And I think just the outlook of people that the widow, the widow label hanging on you, that one I struggled with. especially I remember when my family came to condole with us, my dad really broke down at the thought that I'm being called a widow. But all in all, it boils down to I grounded myself in my faith because it's amazing that I cannot separate the two because it's a journey that started 2 years before my husband passed on. I had very encounters with God, and He spoke a lot of things that brought us to where we are. We were in 2020. So, and of course, death. Death comes with a sting that is unbearable. I mean, I couldn't understand it. I felt like my head was reeling. But we picked ourselves up. And I knew I had to keep myself strong because of our son, who had walked a very painful journey from 2018 to that time. So I knew I had to stay very sober and very strong for him.
We hear you. And would you say that you have accepted your circumstances today or still in the process?
I have accepted. I quickly accepted what was going on. I quickly accepted. And it's amazing that I started to become an encouragement to anybody who came to condole with us. In fact, they would come into our house and go back wondering, is Sally okay? But yes, I was okay. Though I had my moments of breaking down, but that I honestly did outside the house where our son could not see me. But I have accepted, and I have accepted because I think that two life-defining moments of our son's fire accident and now the loss of a spouse, and what God was speaking like it was, I'm looking at this as more or less of a journey that I'm taking to carry others who will probably be walking in the shoes that I have walked. So I had to quickly accept and take up the journey very quickly.
Wow, that is quite a positive outlook to life, Sally, and I'm sure you're an encouragement to many that have found themselves in the same shoes as you are in. Now, Michelle, you're back with us. You were saying you got pregnant and then the relationship did not work and you were left with a child. How old is the baby now?
My little baby is 2. She turned 2 in April.
And how did your life change after the fact? And have you accepted your status?
It took a bit of time, but I have learned to accept. I do what I call a lot of brain rewiring. So I just had to, there was no other option. There was no option of becoming weak. There was no option of becoming desperate for a man, desperate to be helped. I just had to pull myself together and to accept the circumstance that was there. And in a way, I usually think it actually happened for a reason, because I have really developed as a person, as a human being, as a woman. I think I am in a very good place because of this particular circumstance. And I think, and for many women, it may seem like a very difficult time when you are alone and you're weak and you just don't want to lean onto, because like, not, you know, like in a time like this, no one really understands. And no one really understands. And then you see, like, when, for example, like for me, my dad, he used to notice the fine details. Like sometimes I would lock myself in my room, and then, you know, like I used to stay with him in Nairobi for some time when I was pregnant before I went to Kitale. And sometimes he would call my mom and say, please speak to our daughter. I don't think she's fine. Try and speak to her, tell her life, there's more to life. There is, it's not the end of the road. And I guess that kind of support from my parents, that they were always there for me. Even when I gave birth to my baby, they supported me wholeheartedly. They still support me until now, and they love her to bits. It's like their life would not be the same without her again. It's like she was just meant to be here. And that is the thing that I draw strength from each and every day. And it's the main thing, that the change that my baby brought. She has made me into this strong woman that I actually look at myself every single day and I am proud. And the funny thing is that I usually say, if time were to be turned, I would make the same mistakes again.
We hear you, Michelle. If you were given a second chance, you'd still do the same thing, yeah?
Like for me, Gladys, I have totally accepted myself.
Okay, we hear you, and we seem to be having a problem with your connection, but we hear you. She has accepted her journey. And it's interesting that there's something else I'm hearing from all these stories, Alice, is that you find yourself in pain, you find yourself in all this change, you accept it, but something comes out of it. Like you feel your circumstances either make you a better person or your own circumstances help you hold other people's hands. Talk about this kind of awareness and how it grows into that space.
It's an amazing journey, because at some point I could tell I was projecting my own pain onto the kids, which is something that as single parents we do that a lot. So mekosana na this guy and you're mad at him, but you're screaming at the kids, yet it's not the kids' fault. Or you're feeling all these emotions that you can't be able to process. You go home, they want your attention, you're tired, you're from work, you're feeling lonely and all that. They want your attention and you're just thinking, leave me alone. And it's just us projecting pain onto the kids. And it's something that a lot of us do. Like maybe the man wants to see the kids, but you're like, no, ataniona, I'm going to make him feel the same pain I'm feeling. So I'm going to block him from seeing the kids. But what we're really doing is hurting our children, thinking we're hurting the man. And what we do is, when we're hurting the children, they're going to project the same pain to their own children. So what we have is a whole generation of a family in pain. So for you to stop and cut these generational patterns, then that means you have to sit and process your own pain, which is not easy. Like you said, change is not, it's not comfortable, and growth is not easy. It's even painful, but you get to a point where you sit and ask yourself, okay, I am here. So I never asked to be here, but what can I do about it? So how do I take a step forward? Like you said, this experience can either make me better or it can make me bitter. It can make me bitter, and the next thing I'll be on the hashtag men are trash because I'm feeling so much pain and I don't. And probably you're raising sons and you have fathers and brothers, and so you cannot be saying men are trash and you have men around you. You're raising, a boy who's gonna end up being a man. So you have to sit and process that. Then when you sit and process, then that experience, in fact, I love saying you can turn your wounds into wisdom. But it takes process. It takes a whole lot of internal growth, internal transformation, where you're saying, I consciously choose not to pass on pain to my kids. So what does this mean? This means that if I'm feeling hurt, I have to process that hurt. If I'm feeling pain, I have to process it, because most of the time we end up having coping mechanisms. So I don't want to sit with this pain. I don't want to feel it. So what will I do? I'll go for shopping, or I'll go to the club. Sometimes we have people going to church from morning to evening. But really what people are doing, alcohol is another thing. You don't want to face the situation that you have going on with you. You don't want to face where you're at. So let me have a drink and forget. But now if you forget that you have a drink, you forget tomorrow morning, all your problems are there. As agenda mahali.
Yeah.
So you have to actually sit and process that, and now it goes back to what we were talking about, a process of self-awareness. This is where I'm at. but this is where I'd love to be. So what does this process entail? For me to be this kind of a person, what does it require of me? Where am I at right now? And being very honest and having that kind of reflection without sugarcoating anything. But then I am here, and this is the role I played to be here.
Okay.
So how do I get myself out of this? And if it's about pain with the kids, then how do I process such that I am a present parent to my children? How do I process, that the issues that happened between me and my husband was that, and they don't need to know that because they see him as a father. So that means when I am talking, and I'm probably talking badly on the phone about him, and my child is there, they're hearing, they're processing. I mean, they're not deaf. And they are getting wounded, which is, we are thinking it's the fathers who are wounding them, but really we're the ones who are projecting our own pain onto the kids. So it's knowing, fine, I'm angry at this person, but when I'm on phone and I'm talking to him, then my child doesn't need to hear. My child doesn't need to hear that this man was busy gallivanting everywhere. My child doesn't need to hear that this man doesn't provide for them. My child doesn't need to hear that this man was a liar. No, that was your issues between you and them. To this child, the child is a father. And that's what they need to that's the relationship they need to have. Because what we do when we project our own pain, then we inflict further wounds on them. Okay. Because especially when it comes to divorce, it affects children, whether we like it or not. And most of the time, kids might think, you know what, it's my fault. It's my fault. Maybe dad left us. Maybe if I was a nicer child, maybe if I was more obedient. And even if they don't think it's my fault, dad left.
That's a big impact.
Us. It has a big impact.
Okay, so we will talk about how to cope, as you're saying. How do you process? What is the best way to do that in a moment? But I understand we have some feedback. Remember, our question of the day to you is, are you a single mom? What are your joys and pains on this journey? That hashtag is new normal. And of course, you can reach us using the numbers at the bottom of your screen. And if you can have some on screen, we have Joy Washira, who says it's a wonderful journey. However, the kids sometimes is teased at school, especially this one time. They were asked to draw and a nuclear family. Since that day, questions keep on coming, of which you will always feel uncomfortable to answer. And the society is also ignorant about single motherhood. We hear you, Joy. Esther says, this is the one journey that requires a lot of courage to take, because no matter what you're going through, you will always need to remember that your child needs you to be around. Yes, Esther, you need to be present, not only be physically there. Anita, every time I remember, I was so determined to keep it in marriage, makes me shed tears, since the brutal, I guess, experience that tore me apart was beyond bearing. But it's nice being single with kids and focused. Thank you, God, for your everyday care and love. Anita, thank you for sharing. Totola Dangote says, it's the best experience ever. My daughter is my strength. She makes my life worth living. Her smiles lighten my heart. Pain comes when I got nothing in my pockets and she has nothing to eat. It breaks my heart into pieces. And obviously not getting someone to settle down with that will love my daughter as hers or his is the other pain that I have to live with. We hear you. Thank you for sharing. Sylvia Otieno says, it's part of life, which society and church does not recognize us. But at the end of the day, I thank God I will make it so long as my kids are healthy and okay. Ruth Shiro says, 7 years down the line, and I can just say it's all about God. His grace and mercies have been our story. Escaping death at 34 and living with 4 kids to take care of alone, starting from scratch. My joy has been seeing them grow up by God's grace. Ruth, we appreciate you. Jane Murugi says, it's a beautiful challenge and a huge responsibility, but one day at a time, by God's grace, we are raising kings and queens of this nation. So let's take heart. As a mother of 2 girls and 8 and 2 years, I can tell you for sure with God, it is possible. It is, Jane. Thank you. Noningure says, I'm a single mom of 2. Sometimes fully meeting their needs from my source of income can be challenging, but I have taught them that we have to work with what I get. Noni, that is the reality. Thank you for sharing. Rose says, pain, being rejected by pregnancy, later gave birth to twins unexpectedly. I struggled to raise my twins at my old grandmother's place. At only 1.5 years, I left them to work as a house help. Rose, we hear you. Thank you for sharing. Muratawa Gai says, it's a joyful journey, but the only moment I experienced is when my son had meningitis when he was 1.5 years, and that was the most difficult and lowest and painful time I've ever experienced. Thank you for sharing. Purity Alpha says, joy, I am blessed with a bright boy who is an artist and is joining grade 4 in 2 weeks' time. The pain, I have not been in a position to have a stable job. I only got short-term contracts. Right now, I don't have a job. Purity, hugs to you. Now, Mita Ndongo says, it's been so hard, but at the same time, enjoyable seeing my kid grow. My life having guts to work hard no matter the hardship. For me, I can't complain. All I need is God's guidance so that I can raise a strong and amazing lady. More grace to you, Naomi. L'Oreal David says, I don't count my pains, but my joys every time my sons give me a little peek, a hug, a here and there, a pat there, and every time he tells me he will buy for me a car and who are in the future, I'm alive, I'm healed, and I'm stronger. Thank you for sharing. And the last one for now. Rehab Mudhoni says, it's easier if your finances are right. The worst spot to be in is to struggle to care for your kids, knowing very well everything is on you. Rehab, we hear you loud and clear, and thank you for sharing your experience. Remember that hashtag is new normal, even as you share your joys and pains of being a single mom. And as you have seen, we have a panel of single moms, even as we encourage each other and also understand better what it is that they go through, because coming from this society, you might never know how that shoe pinches, but they're here to tell us how it does and how best you can be of a support system to them. We'll be right back.
Shopping season is here thanks to Notify Mall. Shop from hundreds of online shops at our mega malls along Moi Avenue in Nairobi and Moi Avenue in Mombasa. Notify Mall, all your favorite online brands under one roof.
Did you know at Ruiru Mabati Factory, you can open an account and lipa pole pole at your convenience? Did you know at Ruiru Mabati Factory, you can get customized sizes according to your roof plan to avoid wastage? Did you know Ruiru Mabati Factory offers free delivery countrywide within 72 hours? Call us now on 0111 050 700. Ruiru Mabati Factory, mali safi kwa bei poa.
Lifestyle Heights, a prestigious gated community in a tranquil environment offering elegantly styled 2 or 3 and a 3-bedroom plus a DSQ apartment, combining tasteful design and modern amenities. Contact us on 0706 155 277 or 0726 205 208.
Thank you for staying with Your World. My name is Gladys Gachanja. Today we're celebrating single mothers and understanding the journey that they are on. To help us along with this conversation still with Alice Jambi. She's a conscious coach, also a single mother herself. Annette Agutu, Salim Womboy and Michelle Masiga, all single moms. Thank you for being part of this conversation and being so candid about your own journey. And before we went to break, a lot of feedback, and you can hear the pain and the struggle that comes with being in this space. But there are also lots of joys. Now, Annette, yes, you've accepted. Yes, you have moved on with your life. When you think about it, how bad did it get? How bad does it get at times?
Okay, I have healed, and it has been a process. It has been a journey, and I'm grateful to God for the strength. And it has been tough. Yeah, there are those moments that I really wished we would do this together with the father to my daughter. And the most devastating moments are those moments when she asks me about the dad. I actually feared for that moment, but it eventually came. At some point, I didn't know what to tell her. So I would lie to her that dad went to work, but then she wasn't convinced. She's like, how comes you go to work, you come back in the evening? So how comes daddy doesn't come back? It doesn't make sense. So I really didn't know what to tell her or what to answer her. I just kept quiet. Then some point she went to visit my mom, and she asked the same question. She asked mom the same question, like, Nyanya, mbona sina baba, babangu wako wapi? You see? So mom told me she didn't see that coming, but she had to find a way to answer, to respond to her. So she lied to her, he's dead. Because actually, literally he is. So she wasn't convinced still. Again, she asked her, so alizikwa wapi? Nataka kuona mali alizikwa.
Wow.
Yeah, that's my daughter. So my mom is still planning where to take her to view the...
Wow.
Yeah.
So you haven't told her the truth yet?
She's still young. I feel like she's still young. She's only 5. She just turned 5 years old. And so trying to explain to her everything at her age, I think it's too much for her. So I don't know. I really don't know the right age for me to tell her everything. But I think with time, as she grows, as time goes by, or maybe I can get an expert to help me in the process.
Okay, Alice will give us a glimpse of what perhaps would be ideal, even as you give age-appropriate information to your children. And for you, Michelle, the child is only 2 years old. I'm assuming no questions at this point, but what are the struggles you handle? Especially, we've seen mothers saying it's the provision. It's seeing other families whole, and you have to deal with your children on your own. What's your reality?
Okay, for me, there was a time when I used to feel bad that my child didn't have a complete, what is considered a complete family by the society. And that really weighed me down, like literally. And then I would feel so alone, and it was so bad, though I'm the kind of person who hides my pain. So like no one really knows, and I'm sure like if my family is watching right now, they are asking themselves, oh, so she was stressed, so she was depressed, and we didn't know. But it was really difficult for me. And just the same way as Annette, I usually had these moments where I would wish this man would just reach out and just be there and just help me out. But I just had to like get used to the situation. Yeah.
Okay, all right. We hear you. And for you, Sally, you talked about the different experiences. Your son going through this barn accident. Now he has lost his father. What are the difficult conversations you're having with now?
Sorry, I didn't get you right.
What are the difficult conversations you're having with your son now with all these realities here?
Oh, yeah. I get you. It's a journey. It really is a journey. I remember like a few weeks ago, we were actually going in for surgery. That was like 3 weeks ago. And usually when we go in for surgery, we take like 3 days in hospital. And all the surgeries that we had gone into, he's had like 17 of them. And this was like the 18th surgery we were going in for. His daddy has always been present. And it spawned me wondering that I have picked up myself, and yes, I am strong. But I really wondered about him. And the biggest struggle is you're wondering, should I ask him if he misses his daddy? And what does he miss about his dad? I actually found myself very afraid to ask that because I could pick when we went to hospital. We are just the two of us. And initially, we used to be 3. And for me, it was a very, very difficult conversation, to bring up. It's amazing that that same week, a friend of ours came visiting, and she just voiced that question to him. And I was like, wow, this was so God sent, because I wanted to know. And yeah, he said he misses his daddy very much. And he said the things that he missed about him. And I think for him, being that his daddy left when he was already at least knowledgeable, and having gone through the process that he had gone in 2 years earlier, I think to some extent gave him a lot of resilience, because he amazingly came out of it very quickly. He will speak about his dad. He will speak about him in a very positive way. It's never hard to speak about his dad. Well, I mean, for us, we will say, oh, dad did this, he would have done this. So it's never difficult to have those conversations at all. But the very initial months after the dad passed on, we had to have very tough conversations. Initially, I felt like maybe I was struggling to stamp my authority. I think I was also going through processes of my own. So at times I found that like I was, very hard on him, because I felt like this boy must be looking down on his mother and, maybe wanting to not really align to the authority that I was offering. But with time, I thank God. In fact, I remember one of the days when, you're going through the processes. As I said earlier, I really ground my journey in the Word of God. Yeah. And I went back to God and prayed to him and told him, in the Word, you say you're a father to the fatherless. So I will not try to be a father to him. I don't even know what it's like to be a man. I will not even try it. And so I told God, you know what? I'm going to take instructions from you, because you're the father. You mold him the way you want to mold him, while I will be the support system as a mother.
Okay.
So, yes.
Let me stop you at that point, but I hear you loud and clear, because you had talked about what you're struggling with as a person, and now the journey with your son. I understand we have Samuel on the line. What's your question or comment?
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Samuel, right?
This is Samuel Derito Anjohi.
Okay, what is your question or comment?
I am the dad to Sally Derito.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, what would you like to tell her?
Yeah, I live in Nyeri. where I brought that young girl.
Yes.
And first of all, I'm giving accolades to the presenter of this program for having organized all the ladies to come to such a show. And let me say, Sally is my firstborn.
Yes.
A very, very wonderful girl. When this happened, we could not believe it. All of us in the family, including even my grandmother, who really loved this girl so much, we got into terms with a lot of questions. We visited her in Nairobi and they offered support, both psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually. Let me say, Sari is a very, very strong girl. She has been taking life head-on since this very tragic event took place. We communicate regularly so that I can fill the gap as a father.
Yes.
And I am calling upon maybe parents whose children are left by their husbands or their wives, that they should actually support them so much. I felt like she could come to live with me, Mary. You can imagine.
Yes.
Because I was feeling, no, how will she make it now in Nairobi? Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Samuel, for calling and being such an encouragement. We appreciate you.
And I would even wish that there should be a national conference of all the widows in this country, headed by that presenter. That's beautiful. Keep it up.
Thank you, Samuel, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
All right, that is such a beautiful tribute there from Sally's dad, and I can see Sally is all smiles because she knows the role that the dad has played in her life. And we'll get back to the support system because, as we know, it takes a village, yeah? But let's go back to the struggles we were talking about. And Alice, as you heard, all the mothers, the biggest struggle is how to handle the children. This is the reality. You don't know what to tell them. You don't know how to handle the fact that something clearly made your setup different from the next family. How do you go about it? Because somebody like Annette doesn't even know when to start having this conversation with this very curious daughter.
That's something that is very common, and most of us as single parents struggle with. And the first thing to understand is to have age-appropriate conversations, because there's something that a 5-year-old would be able, maybe a 14-year-old would be able to grasp that a 5-year-old cannot. And the whole idea is don't lie. Do not lie to the child, because it's so much easier to say baba yako alikufa, because what you're saying is cut this conversation. But really, like Annette said, kids are clever. They can tell, there's something wrong here. And what happens is when they grow up and understand that you guys were lying to me, it becomes a whole, there's this issue, and then there's this issue on top of this. So you mean my whole life was a lie? So what else were you lying about? And it becomes, it's not just father wounds, but it's like you're piling more on top of that. So the whole idea is to have age-appropriate conversation. So what would a 5-year-old need to know? Dad is not here, but he loves you and he's away and he's not here. And just according to every child is different and unique. So probably this child can grasp a bit more of this. Or this one, by the way, ukimwambia hivyo ametosheka. So if this one is asking for more, then what information can you give that this child can digest that won't wound her or him even more? And then as they grow, learn. You can learn them, you can see what is going on, you can tell. The conversations just keep on, you keep on building up to that. And you can be able to tell as a parent when they're of age, then I can give you the whole information. And even when you're sharing that information, remember, this is their father. You know, he's not the husband. So you can't say, by the way, this person decided he doesn't want us and just left it. No. You have to have a conversation. Even when you're having that conversation with a child, you're remembering the way I'm sharing this with you will probably have a very big impact. Even when you're 60 or 70 or 80, it will have an impact on your children. It will have an impact on your adulthood. So how I address this actually could be a make or break.
So you literally have to separate your feelings from how you actually address the father of the children to the children.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. All right. It takes a lot of being conscious around that issue, clearly. And this is something that you learn as you go. And ladies, even as we hear a lot more feedback coming through, even on our social media handles, as more and more single mothers share their experiences, their joys and pains on this journey. The question is, it's not all doom and gloom. There are a lot of joys that come out of this journey. What has been your apex, so to speak, Annette?
Okay, for me, like, my daughter has been my source of joy, like, sincerely speaking. Even those close to me can attest to that. Like, she's everything to me. I mean, she just brings the joy in me. Like, she's also made me be the person that I am today. She's my inspiration behind everything that I do. And through the whole experience, I have come up with a lot of things to motivate myself and also to be an inspiration to either the next generation or anyone that looks up to me. For example, the release of my book, The Tears and Joy of a Single Mother, is actually more of my life. And from it, I mean, it's just a way of telling another single mom somewhere that all is not lost. You can still pick yourself from down there and make your life better, and just try to do something that will be of inspiration. Also, from the whole experience, I came up with a charity organization that not only does it mentor the girls and the boys, I'm also able to reach out to the less fortunate in the society. And from the interactions that I do with them, especially the girls, I come to realize that there is a lot the girls need to learn, especially in the grassroots or in the informal settlement areas. There's a lot of sensitization that needs to be done, especially when it comes to sex education as well as the hygiene. So this whole motherhood experience has just made me be a better version of myself. Like, looking myself 5 years back, I was not the same. I was not who I am today. There's a lot of things that I've learned along the way, and they keep building me each passing day. And just looking at her, smiling at me, I mean, those beautiful smiles, each time she tells me, "Mom, I love you," I mean, that's world to me. It's everything. Yeah, it gives me so much joy. And me helping, me reaching out to that street kid, I see my daughters, I see my daughter in them. So I'm like, what if it was her on the streets and someone else coming to her rescue? So there's just, I have learned a lot, and motherhood has just brought the best in me.
Yeah. And clearly, as you said, when a child is born, a mother is reborn. Clearly, you are reborn. Michelle, you mentioned that your girl is your everything and she has inspired you to be a better woman today. What else about this journey just makes you, glow?
Okay, the fact that I'm responsible for another human being. And, the best part is that she has impacted everyone in my family. Like, there's this certain joy that I usually feel when I see her quarreling with my siblings and running around with my mom and talking gibberish to my dad. And it just brings me a lot of joy. And it's actually because of her that I am a better person right now. And as I said earlier, I don't know if the network was really bad at that time, but I said I would make the same mistakes again. not because it's something exciting, but because if it were to bring me to this particular moment where I am this strong woman whom someone else can look up to, whom someone else can come and I be a shoulder to lean on, then yes, I would do it again and again, just to have this little girl in my life, just to have her making me into this new woman that I am right now.
Oh, wow.
So for me, that is just the apex of it. The person that she has made me, and the person that she has actually made my family, the people that she has made my family to be, we are happier with her right now.
Oh, wow. I can hear the joy in your voice. Yeah. Amazing. Now, Sally, somebody might just listen to your circumstances and think, oh my, what good can come out of it? But there actually has been a silver lining to this whole experience. Talk about it.
Okay. These two experiences of our son and the loss of our husband have opened me up to really be, to look on the inside of who really am I? What's my purpose, you know? I felt like, especially after my husband died, I felt I need to really look at myself again. I felt like I had been given a new lease of life to redo life again. And so out of that, I realized that, one, I have to be very intentional in the way that I live, be it friendship, be it parenting. I have become more intentional because I realized life is this, life is this short. Yeah. Not just a statement, but I have seen it. I mean, there has been a brush with death in the last, 2 years, or no, 3 years. And so I told myself I have to be very, very intentional in all dimensions of my life. And the other thing is that I decided to take a course that I had been really putting at the back burner. And currently I'm actually taking a life coaching course because I have always felt drawn to life coaching. This is a personal transformation, transformative kind of journey for me, because there's so many things I've realized I have to change as a person. This experience has made me realize that I have to live my life so purposefully, in that I want to affect somebody's life in a positive way, knowing what I have gone through, knowing the pain that honestly I have experienced. I have chosen to not look at the gloomy side of it, but just to create, to look at the purpose of that pain. Right now, I feel like all these events God allowed into our lives so that I will, I will be able to identify with the pain of other people. It will not just be theoretical, but I can identify with it and be able to help them, be it prayer, be it emotional support, be it whatever support it is. So this journey has really helped me to be intentional. Intentional even about my parenting. I realized that I think when you are two people, there's a way you're kind of a bit comfortable, you're in your comfort zone until you find yourself thrust into being alone and you realize, oh, I have to be very intentional, even with our son. And I think the apex of this journey is that I'm enjoying even the relationship and the bond that has come out of this with my son, because you can see the values that you've been inculcating over time, and even when his dad was present, are now just starting to blossom. And I can only really say that I have not done this on my own. I have done this clutching onto God, like my life has been depending on it, and it has really been fruitful for me.
Amen to that. That is so encouraging. And it literally is a situation of life throws you lemons, you make lemonade. For you, what has it been, Alice?
I'd echo what Sally has said. In fact, she's put it so well. It's been a journey of transformation, inner transformation, redefining myself, because initially when I remember the first holiday when they went to Shags and I was left alone, I couldn't stay in the house by myself. I went to my mom's, I went to my sister's, I was just looking for places to go. But literally, I was just running away from myself because I couldn't sit with myself, because at that point I had to ask, you know, without the children being here, without the title, without all this, who am I? And I didn't know who I was. And that's why I was running around, because I was scared of facing myself. So it's been an amazing journey of getting to know Alice, of having that boldness and courage to say, you know what, this wasn't meant for me. So if this wasn't meant for me, I know I can do better. And Sally has put it so well, you know, the good book says you have to be transformed by the renewal of the mind. So mindset is everything. I am here, but how can I live my best life now? You know, this does not mean that I have been changed and my life is over. This means it's the beginning of a new phase. So this new phase, how am I entering into this new phase? Am I entering into it with gladness or with pain? If it's with pain, yes, how do I process this pain? How do I move from this point A to B? And it's been an amazing, amazing process. Not easy, that I have to say, but quite worth the journey.
Okay, and we keep saying, how do you process? So how would you recommend the processing of this new reality?
The first thing I would say is acceptance, just making peace with it, you know. Like for me, I would say, I didn't sign up for this, but here I am. So what does it mean? Most of the time we think acceptance is, okay, surrender, my life is just worth nothing. But it's not real. Surrender just, acceptance means this is where I'm at and I'm accepting. I'm not covering, I'm not hiding, I'm not looking for coping mechanisms, you know, to try and block this. I'm not ignoring it. I'm here and I'm accepting. And part of the process also includes forgiveness. You know, some of the time we are so angry, we are angry at God. If you've lost a spouse, why God? Why did you take him? God, for me, I used to say, I used to go to church, I'd go for Bible study, I'd tithe, and yet I got divorced. I mean, God, it's your fault, you know. And just processing that, forgiving God, forgiving yourself, because at times you go like, okay, yeah, clearly I should have done this, but you can't go back and change. So I chose to forgive myself for the mistakes I had done, and forgiving the other person as well, which is quite hard, you know. And forgiving, most of the time we want to hold on to the pain because that is what is familiar, that is what is comfortable, that is what has been defining us all along. But forgiveness, especially to the other person, means, it doesn't mean that you're forgiving them because they're a good person or they even deserve to be forgiven, but you're forgiving them because it is for you. You're choosing, you know what, these burdens I'm carrying, but they're just making me so burdened. So I'm choosing to put them down. The way I see you, I choose to see you in a different way. I choose to use compassion and empathy, and knowing that probably you hurt me because you're hurting as well. So that does not mean that I'm making excuses for you, but I'm choosing to see you the way I would look at myself, you know? Like I was hurting as well, maybe when we were having this conversation and I said things that I shouldn't have. So I choose to forgive you. And just another big part is self-care, you know? Because most of the time we're in so much pain, we are trying to, and the journey of a single mother is taxing, you know? It's taxing emotionally, psychologically, financially, emotionally, it's physically. So it's good to have a support system. You know, people who you can tell, by me, I'm not okay. There's all this going on. I am emotionally empty. Because I have a friend who says, when you're a single mom, you're always operating on half. Because like Sally said, it makes so much sense, and it even psychologically, when you know there's someone there helping you in this journey, and now you're by yourself, and your children still expect you to show up. And that's another part, be present. Sometimes you're so tired, but being present doesn't take much, you know? You can intentionally and consciously, like Sally was saying, be intentional. So it means when I go home, Every maybe 10 minutes, I'm going to give my son 10 minutes. I'm going to give my daughter 10 minutes. Because, I don't even have, I'm feeling so tired, I can't give her 30 minutes. And 10 minutes means I am not on WhatsApp chatting, I'm not on Facebook, but you're having a conversation. I am present, I want to know, what happened in school, what is, and when we're there, when we're present, we can pick up, those conversations and what is going on with the child and how to process. And that's how you can tell, this is what, where my child has gotten to, and this is the kind of conversation. Like the feedback that someone had shared of a child going to school and being told draw a nuclear family, and they're wondering, guys, ours is not like this. It's a perfect time when you can share with your child, so what do you think? What do you think about our family? But that one you can only pick when you're present as a parent. But it also, for you to be present, you have to be very intentional about it. And just understand, take a day at a time, a step at a time, give it your best, and just understand your best will vary from day to day. At some point in the beginning, my best was pretty much waking up, preparing my kids to school and going to bed the whole day because I couldn't face it. It was just too much for me. And that was my best. And it has grown over time, and knowing that our journeys are different, we might see someone and go like, oh my God, they're so well put together. They have, they have everything going for themselves. And here I am, I'm a horrible mother. I can't even do 1, 2, 3. Just understanding our journeys are different. So don't compare yourself to others. And the main thing, this thing, I don't think you can do it by yourself. You need spiritual support. You need to hold on to your faith. You need to believe in a higher power, and whatever beliefs those are, whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, a Buddhist, it doesn't matter. But you have to have faith because you cannot do this by yourself.
I think that has been underscored by everyone who's spoken into this conversation. Now we take a quick break on Your World. When we come back, there's somebody here who says, Gladys, please, you've got to talk about this stigma that surrounds single moms. There are some people who avoid it like the plague. Why? Well, we'll find out right after the short break.
About Molfix.
Actually, another brand was recommended to me, but it had a leakage problem. Then I decided to try Molfix. His clothes don't get wet anymore.
Because Molfix provides extra protection against leakage thanks to its anti-leakage elastic barriers. All babies deserve a high-quality diaper. You should also try Molfix.
A prestigious gated community in a tranquil environment offering elegantly styled 2 or 3 and a 3-bedroom plus a DSQ apartment, combining tasteful design and modern amenities. Contact us on 0706 155 277 or 0726 205 208.
Thank you for still staying with your world. My name is Gladys Gachanja. Such an interesting conversation we're having this morning about the journey of single moms, still with Alice, Annette, Sally and Michelle. But before we get back to that conversation, and we shall be tackling the issue and the impact of stigma, let's take a look at the other world. Now, with their heads in the clouds and their hands in the soil, a group of office workers are busy harvesting the fruits of their labor on the roof of a Hong Kong skyscraper. Now, the farm is among more than 60 that have sprouted across the space-starved city since 2015 on decommissioned helipads, shopping mall rooftops and public terraces, thanks to initiatives like Rooftop Republic, a local social enterprise which promotes urban farming.
Currently in Hong Kong, the farmable area that's currently being used and producing food is only about 7 million square meter. So we could have the potential of doubling that supply of space, or rather land, to grow food.
Most of the people just focus on the value, the commercial values of the property. But we want to promote the concept of sustainability.
Elsewhere, the annual European Balloon Festival is in full swing in Catalonia. Now, the event is usually the biggest gathering of hot air balloons in Spain. But this year, due to COVID, it has been scaled back with fewer participants and a shorter format. Angel Aguirre, a participant, says, like everything in life, it is not 100% safe, but it is much safer than driving on the motorway. For example, statistically, many things can go wrong. So like all adventure sports, it must be done in the right conditions and accompanied by professionals. Now, the first thing we teach and the most difficult thing to learn for a new pilot is deciding whether the conditions are right for takeoff. Well, the southern U.S. city of Charlottesville in Virginia takes down 2 statues honoring Civil War generals for the pro-slavery Confederacy, which had become the focus of protests, including a deadly 2017 rally of white supremacists.
It means a lot to me. It's a symbol of healing, a symbol of reconciliation, a symbol of unity. I'm so happy to see that this is the beginning of the reconciliation, this is the beginning of healing, you know. People should understand that regardless of your race, regardless of your color, regardless of your tribe, we are one, we are all human. And we should just live together in unity, in harmony, and make a better history, make a better world for the next generation.
Now, teams working around the clock on the site of a partially collapsed building in Southside, Florida, announced one tiny miracle. They found a cat wandering nearby that had belonged to a family living on the tower's 9th floor. The short-haired black cat named Binks was turned over to one of her owners, who said she was happy and shocked.
A little bit of relief. And shocked, honestly. I'm kind of shocked. But we already had a feeling that if one of our animals were to make it, it would be him. So we're not surprised either. So yeah, I'm happy. It's just been, again, like a very long journey in the past 2 weeks. So yeah, I'm happy.
So back to our conversation of the day, the journey of single moms. And remember, our question of the day to you is, are you a single mom? Share with us your joys and pains on this journey. And that hashtag is new normal. And there's a lot of feedback from you. Lillian Ephraim says, it's not easy, but the grace of God is sufficient. We play both roles, but as well, we receive undivided love from our kids. Every single mom has a story to tell. Some ran away from abusive marriages, others were abandoned by their deadbeats, and others by choice. Whatever the case, be happy, raise your kids, trust God in everything, and never look back. Thank you, Lillian. Mary says, pains are overcome by joy every single day. Thank you, Mary. Josephine Wanjiro says the journey is not for the faint-hearted. I'm telling you, the emotional stress subjected by society when you are at your weakest point. When I went to deliver my son, the doctor kept on bugging me. When is the big day? That is the wedding. I couldn't sleep for 9 months because of stress after I realized the gent did not want to be anywhere in the picture. Josephine, we hear you. Thank you for sharing. Ian Jackie says, I'm brave enough to pick the pieces of my life, fix them, get up and go. That makes me happy because my kids are happy, even though at times it's so hard that you reach a point of losing hope. But all in all, it's me and me. This is no matter how hard I have to fight it for my kids. Thank God for his strength. Jackie, more strength your way. Benja Muse, I think, says, why are you not concerned about single fathers? We also have a story to tell. Benja, siku ya the fathers itafika pia. Do not worry. Today we are dedicating it to the single moms. And when we went to break, I mentioned, ladies, that it is imperative we talk about the role and the impact of stigma, because there are some who have even said in the feedback we've read out that they have faced it, whether in church, whether amongst their family members or within their friends. So what is your story, Annette?
Wow. Okay. For me, I remember at some point I went to the clinic, the normal checkups. And so the nurse looked at me and she's like, so where is the man? I was like, okay, he's not around. She insisted on telling me, next time, please make sure you come with him for your next visit. It's important. He should be here. I told her, yeah, nimekusikia. I'll come with him next time. Also, it reached a point whereby sometimes you're just walking, someone is staring at your bulging tummy and you're like, what's wrong? Why are you looking at me like that? So they start scanning your finger to see if you have a ring on. Mm-hmm. It baffles them. You don't have a ring. So I had to get myself a fake ring just to get rid of the stares because they were too much. So someone is scanning your finger, there's no ring on your finger, they're looking at your tummy. So you can imagine what questions are running through their minds. So you're like, okay, things happen. And it happened to me as well. So I'm happy where I am, it's fine. Also at some point in church, my pastor looked at me and I really thank God for this pastor, by the way. His prayers have kept me going as well as my mom's prayers. So the pastor looked at me and he asked me, so my daughter, where is he? I just told him, okay, he will come. I'll convince him. I'll try convince him to come. And he also insisted that during the baby dedication day, he should be there. Actually, I tried to convince the mans to come for the dedication, but it was a no-show. So it is what it is. Life has to move on either way.
Oh, wow. And how did all these scenarios make you feel?
At first, actually, they were kind of getting into me. Like, what do people expect? I mean, it happened. Not everyone, I mean, not everyone is supposed to get married. I don't know. Things happen. So just leave me alone. Just mind your business. It happened to me and I accept it. I can't kill myself. I can't beat myself to it. And so I'm just embracing whatever happened to me. And I'm just living in the moment. So just mind your business. Just keep off. If there's no, I mean, if you can't support me in any way or if you can't help me in any way, just keep off. I mean, just keep the negative energy to yourself.
We hear you. Michelle, is your experience any different? Michelle?
Yes.
Is your experience any different?
Okay, mine, like, I used to stay in the house. I would only go to the shop when it was a bit dark because I was afraid of what people would think of me. But yet again, it reached a point where I just got used to it. And then there's this short funny story. I remember when I was pregnant, and then we would go for this. I was going for this empowerment training for entrepreneurship at NILAB, and then there was this guy who was hitting on me, but in a very weird way. He told me, like right now, if you don't accept me, your options are limited because not many people will accept you with a child. And I'm like, man, you do not talk to me like that. I said, I'm not even interested. Even if you were the last man on earth, I wouldn't date you. I was so pissed that this man actually thought that he was going to do me a favor. And I guess that's where I started the journey of transforming myself, of loving myself, so that even when the time comes and I meet the right man, I will not think he is doing me a favor. So it has actually been a little bit challenging, especially for me dating people. Sometimes there are men who are not really transformed. And sometimes when you mention, I have a daughter, and then they shy away. They're like afraid. I don't know. I think we have a virus or something. I don't know. But there are some good men out there who, like, they don't mind. They just say, I love you for you. Yes, we will raise the child. Okay. So for me, that has been the experience.
I hear you. Now, Sally, you mentioned that what you struggled with especially is being looked at as this young widow. Do people treat you differently? Do they treat you differently now?
That's a very interesting question. There is something different about being a widow for sure. And first of all, one thing that I picked in maybe a subtle way, of course, is you find that maybe people will not want to talk about stories with spouses because they think you're probably not gonna handle it. So you find they're a bit guarded, very guarded around you when they're talking about their spouses. I even stopped talking about their spouses around me because they're thinking maybe Sally won't handle it because her spouse is gone. So yes, there is a difference. There is something different about, being a widow. And I think when you speak about also stigma, our society can be a bit crude, to say the least. Because first of all, remember I mentioned to you that our son had gotten into a fire accident. So his face was scarred. So we started being stigmatized 3 years ago. When he got into the fire accident, you walk into a place and you can see somebody looking at him, wondering what is wrong with this child. And somehow I think I had to harden my heart in a way and just, walk through that stigma with a smile. My son would come and tell me how it is. People are looking, I'm like, you know what? If you see someone staring at you so much, just say hi to them, smile, don't be mean, don't be bitter. Then the next thing, in the next event that happened at the loss of Happy, which was now COVID, and COVID was really, when it was a really new thing, I can tell you we faced a lot of stigma, especially when we went for the funeral. I think people thought, I don't know what the idea was. There was a lot of stigma that came with that. Yeah. Rumors, people just peddle stories. They don't even understand. Your journey, and you're just hearing stories and you're like, my God, people don't even have an idea of what they're talking about. And now what I've said that comes with now the widowhood, the most breaking part for me was one day I noticed that my son was not going to play outside with his friends, and we could see his friends outside. So I asked him, why aren't you going? What happened? And he told me nothing. But I picked there's something amiss. So I pushed him, like I really pushed him, talk to me, tell me what is it. And he just told me, no, Mom, it's no longer good to play because there were some friends, some children who were nasty to him and told him, we're not going to play with you because you don't have a daddy. And please remember, he also has this image, he's been struggling also with image. I'm telling you, that broke me. That broke me so much. And of course, I didn't break down with him there, but I spoke to him and told him, young man, I really affirmed him and told him, can you focus? Can you really, really focus? And please, can we focus on God and where he's taking us with this journey? Forget about what people are saying. And I think what has helped me in this journey, just to not be drained by all the stigma that comes with this situation, is to walk in discretion. I even had to speak to my son that, you know what, our family affairs are ours. Do not talk about it. Let's walk in discretion, So I became also very intentional about who was speaking into our lives. And I surrounded myself with people who are positive. And I kept saying that I could not do this journey alone. So I kept speaking to God. I made God my friend. There is nothing I'll not tell him. Now I'll go to him and tell him, Father, I feel so hurt today because of X, Y, Z. How do I go about this? Help my heart, help my heart. I had to keep calling myself to order to shut out all these things about stigma and what goes on around out there.
Wow. Clearly, the reality of stigma is here with us. And somebody says they were literally kicked out of church just because they fell pregnant and they did not marry the father of their children. And Alice, this is something you are actually mentioning, that you've had such experiences before. Did you ever face any stigma with a divorce?
There's this way society looks at you when you enter a place and you introduce yourself as Mrs. So-and-so. People kind of like give you some respect or because of the title. Then there's this way that people look at you when you enter and they're asking marital status and you're like single, and they start looking at you with question marks. So there's that stigma, even if people don't actually come to you, come outright and say it to your face. You can see it. You can see it around you.
Yeah. Okay, so even as we bring this conversation to a close, having had so much from different experiences of being a single mom, your words of encouragement to those that walk in these shoes, and of course to the society that walks with them.
The first one, to the ladies who are on this journey, I'd say take heart. Like we are saying, it takes a lot of grit and courage to be able to walk on this journey. So take a day at a time, be your biggest supporter, surround yourself with people who will support you and walk with you. And to society, let me just be blank and say, let's just quit this archaic thoughts that we have had in our, sometimes I look at social media and there are men who are discussing single women and they've already like blanketed them into this, and you don't even know what happened to these people in this situation, but guys have already judged, crucified, and sent them to jail. So I think we should have an open mind, because you never know, that single mother could be your mother, it could be your sister, it could be your own wife, it could be your daughter. So just encourage and support the ladies along this journey. And this does not mean that we're encouraging ladies to be single mothers. No, that is not the message we are putting out. The message that we're putting out is, if you find yourself in this journey, take heart. And if you find someone walking along in this journey, support them. Just support them and walk with them.
And ladies, I see you nodding your heads because you agree with what she is saying. Again, I appreciate you for joining us and being so candid about your own journeys. And as I keep saying, your story is someone's lifeline somewhere. Thank you for being part of this conversation, even as we celebrate you being the single moms you are and the role you play in being the parents you are to your children. Well, Alice Jambi, the conscious coach, Aneta Gutu, author, Sally Wamboi, HR professional, and Michelle Masiga, customer service professional, we salute you. Now, on the 28th of July, that day is marked as a World Hepatitis Day, with this year's theme being Hepatitis Can't Wait. Now, this is a clear signal that with a person dying every 30 seconds from a hepatitis-related illness, the urgency to address viral hepatitis, especially in the midst of the COVID-19 crisis, is critical. More on hepatitis tomorrow from 7 a.m. See you then.
Presenting the new Harpic bathroom cleaner. Compared to ordinary detergents, its thick formulation gives you superior cleaning and kills 99.9% of germs and viruses all around the bathroom. Blue
for the toilet
and red
for the bathroom.
Hey there, friends. I know you've probably been hearing a lot about this new coronavirus or COVID-19.